Well, thank you so much, Tut, for that question. The reason why I resigned from the SPLM, first of all, I joined the SPLM from a very early age. I think it was explained earlier by you and also by Lam. I joined as a member of the Red Army. And at the time, we can argue that majority of the people of South Sudan joined SPLM. Not all of them by choice, but because of the situation in which we found ourselves, we became by default members of the SPLM because SPLM was the champion of our people. It was the entity that was fighting for a better future for all of us. So we joined it and we became members in it. Later on, as we grow older, we became much more committed to its ideology. When I resigned, I wanted to note a few things. First of all, the SPLM that we joined, when I joined personally in 1988, is not the same SPLM that is running today. The SPLM that we joined was SPLM that was committed to freedom. It was an SPLM that was committed to restoring hope to our people. It was an SPLM that has a vision and a program that aspire all of us and painted a picture of a better future. That was the SPLM that we joined. It was a mass movement that was sustained by the hard work of the South Sudanese people through their contribution, whether it's contribution of food, animal stock, or through their own sons to fight for their liberation. It was a movement that they own, a movement that belonged to them. Now, since independence, the SPLM that we have now is an entirely different animal. SPLM has has changed, has evolved into a different kind of animal. It's no longer the same entity that was committed to the ideals of freedom, justice, and prosperity for all our people. SPLM we have today is a self-serving SPLM that belong to specific individuals. SPLM that is completely confused about the journey that it faces. SPLM that has nothing to offer to the people of South Sudan. If you even look at the name itself, Sudan People Liberation Movement, you can agree with me that this entity has achieved the objective for which it was founded. The vision of the SPLM at the time, it was supposed to be two things. If you look at the convention of the 1994, was two primary objectives that were outlined as the program of the SPLM. One was the complete transformation of Sudan from a country that belonged to a very few in the north to a country in which every Sudanese can find themselves as citizen, a country that was supposed to be founded on equality. That was the vision of New Sudan, a New Sudan in which Muslim, Christians, Northerners and Southerners, Easterners and Westerners could be one. The other second objective of the SPLM, and this came out as a result of our own internal challenges, the 1991 split that was headed by Dr. Riek Machar and Dr. Lama Akol. From that, another objective came to be objective of the SPLM, and that was the self-determination for the people of South Sudan. So when we met at the convention in 1994, those were the two objectives that were put forward as the ultimate objective of the SPLM. New Sudan and self-determination. New Sudan was the overall vision upon which, if the Northerners agree and everyone in Sudan agree, then all of us were willing to live together as brothers and sisters. That was what we were fighting for, the ultimate objective. But in case that the Northerners did not want to treat us as equal citizens and offer us our right as equal citizen in this country called Sudan, then we as people of South Sudan reserve the right to secede and form our own country. In 2011, this point came to into conclusion. Northerners did not make the unity attractive. It became very clear that the new Sudan was not going to be possible at all, because the Northerners wanted to continue to be the first-class citizen and us as second-class citizen. We rejected that. And we voted in the referendum. 99% of the population of South Sudan voted in the referendum to create a new country. So here, vision of New Sudan failed, was not achieved. And then what we achieved was self-determination. So if you go back to the two objectives from the 1994 convention, the vision of New Sudan failed because the SPLM did not pursue New Sudan. And they were unable to push the Northerners and the NCP to accept the vision of New Sudan. So what did the SPLM end up opting for? Self-determination, right? That is what we achieved. The minute that self-determination was achieved, what happened? Sudan was no longer one. Sudan now became two countries. Sudan in the north, Sudan in the south. We are now Republic of South Sudan. Liberation is finished because no one else is standing on our neck. On the day that the independence was declared, President Salva Kiir, our president, announced to the world that today, moving forward, we will no longer have any excuse for not delivering on the aspiration of the South Sudanese people. Because today, we have created our own country. We have our own government that is supposed to pursue the path of development for our own people. We have no one else to blame but ourselves. We are liberated because someone who is liberated has the right to pursue a path that their mind and the aspirations determined to be correct. And that's who we became on January 9, 2011. So the notion of having a party in an independent South Sudan that is called Sudan People Liberation Movement, when we are no longer in one Sudan, we are South Sudan. When we as people of South Sudan are free, are citizens of the independent Republic of South Sudan, when we no longer need liberation, what we need today is a vision of progress, a vision of hope, a vision of prosperity. It's no longer about us being liberated because we as people of South Sudan have liberated ourselves. So since that day, there has been a complete problem within the SPLM in terms of searching out what is this SPLM for? What is it there to offer to the people of South Sudan now that the people of South Sudan are liberated? And since that day, there has been lack of vision, lack of consensus building, lack of peaceful discussion within the SPLM to determine what the next chapter for the people of South Sudan might become. From that day, the movement was hijacked because the leadership was not prepared to bring the cadres around so that they can discuss what the next mission might become. And this created a room for opportunists, for tribalists, for regionalists to take over the SPLM. And the SPLM, instead of a vehicle of hope and progress for the people of South Sudan, became a tool for a few to use to loot the country, to violate the rights of the people, turn people against themselves using tribalism, regionalism, and division, and basically run the country down. That is what has happened. We tried within the SPLM to say this is a wrong path, that we must change, but no one was listening. We became victims, sent to jails. Some of our colleagues were killed, murdered, simply because they dared to dream for a better future for South Sudanese people. So it is because of this, during all this time, consulting with like-minded people, young people, to determine what the next challenge might become for us. Because our childhood was taken by the liberation struggle. We are here today because we cannot accept the remaining years of our life to also be taken by violence, divisions, and hatred. We want to shape a future of hope and progress. We are not against anyone, but we are for a new chapter in the history of South Sudan. And this chapter that we begin is a chapter of revival. You may wonder why revive? We revive because we know what we had. Those of you who were part of the movement who were part of the struggle, who were there that day, July 9, 2011, when our people gathered at John Garang Mausoleum, united in purpose and in vision for a better future, then you know very well what I'm talking about. We want to revive that spirit. We want to revive that sense of purpose. We want to revive that focus. When we had friends from all over the world, here in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Norway, all over the world, who were standing with us in solidarity, who were convinced by the future we were trying to forge together. We want to revive those relationships. When we talk about values of our people, South Sudan is one of the most hospitable countries in the world. Anywhere you go in South Sudan, you will be welcomed by people of South Sudan. They will give you food, they will give you water, they will give you free lodging. In fact, we have one of our musicians, Panchol Dengajang, he talks about how in his area of Duk, you cannot buy milk, that if you're a guest and you arrive, you can have unlimited food and unlimited milk for however long you need until you leave. This is the spirit of South Sudan. We want to revive that. We want to revive our values. We want to revive our national unity. So this is the reason why you see me resigning. By resigning, I wanted to awaken the consciousness of our people, especially young people, to let them know that there is something wrong here. We have become so comfortable under the SPLM because of the emotions that we develop as part of our journey in that movement. But we have to realize that that movement has achieved its objective. Our leaders in that movement have achieved the reason why God brought them to the earth. They have realized independent South Sudan. The challenge now is to build within those borders. We have borders that are recognized internationally. This is a gift from our leaders, and we thank them. As I mentioned in my resignation letter, President Salva and I, we share history, being part of the SPLM and shepherding the people of South Sudan to an independent nation. But right now, our journey separates because we have to move toward progress, away from division, away from tribalism, away from violence, so that the future we forge is a future that we can be all proud of. So this was the reason why I resigned, and is the reason why we are launching a new party today. Thank you very much.